many of the students who did the FBE exit exams and scored very, very low are having problems to be placed. However, not all of them have registered as yet, so that is still an issue that is appearing on paper, not necessarily at the schools. The inspectorate department, as well as all of the school boards, as well as public education, is working together to be able to alleviate that issue. Of course, the situation with the vocational schools, 4 classrooms not being ready, has also added to the problem. But in my last discussions with the Ministry of Romi, they have done all that they could to go to Plan B, and hopefully sooner rather than later we'll be having access to those 4 classrooms as well. At the Division Public Education, all 7 schools were visited. The school managers, directors, etc. have been having discussions. There are no pending issues as such, but school has just started, so we'll give them an opportunity at that time to go through this week, and then hopefully by next week we'll be able to update on how the school start the year, how it started and how it's progressing. Additional back-to-school activities have been planned for the public schools with the WIMS training for school staff, which will be, we have 18 participants within physical education instructors, student care coordinators, classroom teachers, and music teachers. This will be held during this week for 4 days at the Dutch Quarter Community Center. Also this week, as I stated before, is the orientation week for the vocational training school, and the division has also some planned programs for Cycle 1 and 2 teachers for this month of August, where they will be getting some upgrading activities. Recently also, the Department of Education and division exams representatives visited Chile for a conference where possibilities coming out of that conference are for the St. Martin, for us as St. Martin to be able to enjoy trainings for our teachers at low or minimal cost through UNESCO. So this is an option that we are also looking at. And as Education on the Move continues to make its weight felt within the community, I want to also thank the community as well as those persons within the ministry and the schools who took time during their vacation to assist with the painting projects at the Oranje School and the St. Martin Vocational Training School, so that at least those 2 schools, which were in dire need of some facelift, were able to have a much needed facelift during the break, and that the students and management of those schools and teachers are able to start in a much fresher environment. Of course, we hope to continue this with the other schools as the year progresses. There is much to be done, many challenges still and many hurdles still to jump over, but with all hands on deck, we are quite sure at the ministry that we will be able to deal with many of these challenges in a timely fashion.
GEBE has been faithfully serving the communities of St. Martin, powering your home and our economy. Come rain or shine, our qualified team of professionals are working hard 24 hours a day to provide you and your family with safe, reliable electricity and water. We use the latest technologies and test our products daily to maintain the highest international standards. Our friendly staff is always there to assist you, whether in person, over the phone, or online. We are committed to constantly improving our products and services, making them more efficient, effective, and environmentally friendly to serve you better today and our next generation of clients tomorrow. GEBE, powering a brighter future.
Our friend Megawati is here with tips to save you energy. 1. Turn your airco temperature up. 2. Use a ceiling fan instead. 3. Buy energy-saving products. Save some green with NVGEB.
Life is a journey full of connections. You're in safe hands, even when life starts too soon. You don't have to miss a single beat. When a bad hair day makes you sad, just sharing can bring you joy and more to come. They take the plunge, turn fear into faith, while you capture those beautiful moments. In the game of life, it's family that counts. They'll be there even when you lose. We all have our moments of reflection and hope. And when you feel you're losing everything in life, we're there because there's more to come. When life starts too soon, you don't have to miss a single beat. We're here to connect you and share life. Telcel, when you want more.
There are some things I'd like to bring to your attention relative to the activities that have taken place in the Council recently. Yesterday, first of all, I think I should mention that the Prime Minister is traveling. He left on Sunday to go to Santo Domingo to attend the inaugural ceremonies for the President of Santo Domingo, as well to sign a treaty between the countries of the Kingdom of the Netherlands and Santo Domingo, reinforcing cooperation between the Kingdom and Santo Domingo going forward. Yesterday, an item came up in the Council of Ministers that regards foundations. Last year, Parliament passed a law that had some undesirable consequences as far as foundations are concerned. It resulted in all foundations having to file taxes, and to do so, hiring accountants to prepare to do so properly. The undesired consequences was that foundations really perform services for the general public, whether it's humanitarian services, medical services. They do good work for the community and fill in areas that helps with the social development of the country. It was never the intention to, when they passed the law last year in Parliament, to burden foundation with these tax consequences by filing and paying taxes. Yesterday in the Council of Ministers, we corrected that situation that was caused last year, and we have now exempted foundations who are not involved in operation of a business. Let me explain that. You could have a foundation, and the foundation could be or an association, could be an association attending to the welfare of its members. That is good, that is necessary and should be done. But some foundations, associations, in the course of those activities, for instance, operate a business. For example, If you had an association who was looking after the welfare, the medical welfare of its members, or an association looking after the medical welfare of its members, and in the course of it decided, well, we're going to open a drugstore. And that drugstore then sells drugstore products not only to the members, but the public at large. That's a business. In that case, that foundation will have to be treated as far as the operation of its business like any other business, because this is operating a business. So that's the distinction that we make today, that those foundations or associations which are not operating businesses, they will not have to file taxes in future. That's the correction that we made with the law yesterday in the council. I should also bring to your attention that another effort made by the Department of Finance to bring a correction in a situation that we believe is unfair is the question of time bar as far as taxes are concerned. Normally, you get an assessment, you have to file for your taxes every year. Some people file, some people don't. When you don't, the tax department imposes an arbitrary assessment on you. It means since you don't file and say what income you have, the tax department is going to say, well, we think you had so much. Those arbitrary assessments are normally very high. For instance, if in a normal course of event, had you filed, you would have 1,000 guilder bill to pay as far as tax is concerned, but you didn't file. The tax department could impose an arbitrary assessment on you of 100,000 guilders. When they do that, you can object against that arbitrary assessment. But some people don't. Whether it is that they're not aware of it, whether it is they're caught up in other activities, didn't get around to it, whether or not they receive a reminder from the tax department or not. After 5 years, if you did not file an objection, you owe 100,000 guilders, whilst in actuality, you would only have owed 1,000 guilders. But because you didn't have an accountant, you didn't take care of your affairs the way you should have, you now end up with a 100,000 guilder bill to pay, really on monies that you did not earn, only because of that arbitrary assessment. Well, that is perceived somewhat unfair, and what I did was prepared a legislation to give these people a second chance. In other words, the time bar term of 5 years is now being increased based on the legislation we sent to the Council of Ministers yesterday from 5 to 10 years. So now you got a last chance to get your affairs in order and to avoid having to
Bob, I can understand why you're parking so carefully. Of course, when you can get 80% discount on your Be Sure car insurance. But that's overdoing it, Bob.
Are you be sure? Be sure.
Yeah! Oh my, what an inventory list, and so unnecessary. But wait, your home contents are all insured by Be Sure. That means that you determine the amount you want to insure. No inventory list, no hassle.
Are you be sure? Be sure.
These are the doors that never close. These are the hands that make a difference. These are the walls that could tell countless stories of helping and healing, of storms weathered, of change and growth, of a place where life begins, where hearts are mended, and where hope grows stronger. For more than a quarter of a century, the physicians, medical professionals, and staff of St. Martin Medical Center have combined advanced medical technology and compassionate care to bring a world of medicine to our friends, neighbors, and visitors to the island of St. Martin we all call home. As proud as we are of what we have accomplished, we believe there is still much work to do to continue a proud tradition of providing everyone in our community with the latest technology, the best medicine, and the most exceptional care. St. Martin Medical Center, celebrating 25 years of serving, caring, healing.
First of all, this weekend we are starting with a mosquito elimination or beat ZICV community program. And this is a program that's been put together with CPS and with the VKS in terms of going into different neighborhoods and working on elimination in particular of the mosquito breeding sites. So the idea is that this weekend on Saturday we will start in Saunders, in the morning, visiting, going door to door, home to home, in terms of helping people to understand what best practices are in terms of eliminating mosquitoes breeding sites. It's clear from our experiences so far that, number one, fogging, while it is part of the repertoire in terms of how we can control mosquitoes, it is not particularly effective. Number one, the mosquitoes build up a resistance. Number two, it only kills mosquitoes that are actively flying around. And so the agreement is that we will do targeted fogging in areas on an as-needed basis, but that the focus is really on elimination of breeding sites. And this is where we're going now door to door in the community. The second item I want to speak about, this is an editorial piece that was in the newspaper today about the hospital. It says, new hospital, higher taxes. And I think that this does deserve some comment because it creates confusion in the public mind, it creates fear, and I think creating this sense of insecurity about healthcare and how we're going to fund it just for political mileage, I believe, is irresponsible, and I think there are some points here that we need to address. So I'm going to read a couple spots in it and address them specifically. The current SMMC loses money and needs to be subsidized in the millions of dollars annually. So this is from the editorial piece. The reality is, when I came in as Minister of VSA, that the SMMC was losing about 5 to 6 million guilders on an annual basis. And one of the first tasks when we looked at making sure that our healthcare system was sustainable is to make sure that we had an interim solution as well as a long-term solution. So obviously the long-term solution is a new hospital together with a proper business plan, but the interim solution was to adjust the budget to the SMMC. The fundamental problem with the hospital was that the hospital was being reimbursed for procedures at less than its cost. So you don't have to be a genius to figure out that that's going to create a financial problem if the services that they provide are not being properly compensated. So we looked at it, made sure that we adjusted it, and right now the hospital is meeting all of its current operating expenditures as well as all of its current tax expenditures. There are the outstanding tax issues from previously, and those will be addressed as we do the construction of the new hospital and transfer of the property. But currently the hospital is operating within budget and not losing money. So this again showing that the hospital is losing millions and that by expanding it that we're going to lose money. That's what we said when we came in, that addressing and building a new hospital, a larger hospital, without addressing the tariff structure would only create a problem, and that's one of the first things that we addressed. So then the next part would be, where is the plan to offset the increase in expenses that the larger facility will create? So again, even as part of our interim solution, there's obviously a number of things that we need to do to ensure that the increased costs to SZV don't put SZV into any sort of a problem. So we worked, first of all, on compliance. I'm happy to report that to date, for 2016, compliance is up by over 20% already. We're also working collectively with Aruba and Curaçao to work together on our medical referrals to bulk our purchases together. It's been in the media a number of times that we're working very closely in terms of a cooperative agreement. And then more structurally, we're in the process of working on national health insurance or national health reform. We expect that to come to Council of Ministers by the end of the month. And obviously attached to that, there's the normal efficiencies that any institutions need to look at. All of this has been formulated into a business plan, which has been drafted by and approved by the tripartite and is currently been submitted to the CFT for their review and for their comments. So again, we are taking a very practical, a very pragmatic approach to how we're addressing not only the construction of the hospital, but also to make sure that it's on solid financial footing. Another comment, what will improve the quality of care, the perceived reputation, is the ability to attract qualified specialists in the primary areas of care the island needs. This can only be done if there's sufficient business for specialists to earn the living they envision. Again, one of the first things we did coming into government was to look at how do we improve that client base for the specialists to ensure that they would be able to have that business base that we're talking about. And the first thing we've done, and we're almost finished, is a cooperation agreement with the French side in terms of being able to synchronize development and to coordinate specialties. So in other words, if we develop a specialty on the Dutch side, that the French side would not develop the same specialty, but instead would refer their patients to our specialist. They would develop an alternate specialty where we would then refer our patients to them, so thereby increasing the customer base to the full size of the island. So exactly for the reason that we would then be able to bring in better quality specialists, because the business case would be more interesting for them because they have a larger population base to work for. Unless the lack of qualified specialists is solved through a well-planned and feasible approach, as was the case through medical tourism. In the UP definition of medical tourism, what they were looking at is they were looking at a very expensive hospital where the country would fund the capital expenditure to build the medical tourism wing, and then they would outsource it to a third party for them to exploit it for profit. So, and the guarantee was that they would guarantee a certain period of rent, and it was a very short period of rent, by the way. So why would the country take all of the financial risks, make all of the capital expenditures for a third party to come in to exploit for profit? That's a problem, and that's why we changed it, because it doesn't make any sense to us. In their plan, they were talking about 6 operating theaters, of which 4 of them would belong to the medical tourism entity and 2 for the SMMC, or the St. Martin General Hospital. In our plan, we have 4 operating theaters, all for St. Martin. So in the other plan, we had 2, they had 4. If we needed extra services, what would we do? Have to rent them from people that we paid for to build the operating theaters for? To me, it makes no sense.
It's been said that behind every door, possibility awaits. How much possibility depends on which door you open first. Every day, we help our customers discover the possibilities in their lives. It all starts with a conversation. Scotiabank. Discover what's possible.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Cleopatra Dede Hawley, candidate number 4 in PPA, and proudly representing this team.
All right. All right. Way to go, Bill. Way to go, Bill.
I would like to send a direct message to the voters in St. Martin. I have a lot of history with psychology, and one thing is for certain is the best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. So I don't want anyone to be fooled by empty promises that people are coming out and saying, you've done there, we've been there, we've done that. I've had enough. Personally, I've had enough. I don't want to call myself a politician. I'm pretty much on the same wavelength with Francesca, because you hear the word politics and people paint you a very nasty picture, and I don't want to be represented as such because I'm a very nice person and I don't want to be camouflaged in that light. So I would like to send a direct message to the people of St. Martin. Attention voters, please pay very close attention and listen very carefully to what I'm saying. I'm begging you for the future of my children, for our children, and for the future of St. Martin. Please do not be fooled again. Please. There has been too many band-aids and empty promises, cover-ups, excuses. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm exhausted. I'm really exhausted. When I finally announced the time to everyone that I was considering taking the first step on my journey into politics, oh boy. Many was glad, very glad to see a new face. What I've come to understand when talking to the public, just in random, even before I mentioned that this is something I was interested in doing, it was very heartfelt for the people, because the visionaries that used to have a lot of vision for St. Martin no longer have it.